Everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Athlete Speaking to You, Athlete Speaking Truth to Power. First of all, I want y'all to make sure you give yourself a round of applause for coming here with us today after school. That's not an easy thing to do. So we're very excited about, teaching y'all a little bit about advocacy. And we're so proud and happy that y'all are coming here showing your leadership. So who's bringing you this event today right now? This event is brought to you by the Alliance Los Angeles. And the Alliance is a collaborative initiative comprised of the 11 major pro sports teams in LA. And the Alliance came together as a sign of unity to advocate for social justice causes, especially causes that empower and bring resources to Black and Brown communities in LA. It's a very exciting thing. At the Alliance, our core belief is that sports has the power to bring change and attitudes to society and communities. And we believe that you, as student athletes, have that power too. Our focus is to make sure that everybody has access to sports, but the knowledge you gain here and learn today can affect every issue that you care about. My name is Otha Cole, and I'm the project director for the Play Equity Fund, and I help manage the Alliance initiative. And we do a series of these events where we're introducing high school students and high school athletes to social justice. And, and when we can, we bring professional athletes who are passionate about social justice to inspire y'all and speak with y'all. Okay. Did y'all get a chance to see some of that information we had on the slide? I hope you did, because I'm going to ask you about it later. But we have a very, very special guest here today. He's a Chargers running back, Justin Jackson, who's also not only the running back for the Chargers, but also a social justice advocate. He's somebody that really speaks to it. He really walks the walk, talks the talk, very passionate about it. And, he was excited to come here today when he learned what we were doing, when we learned that we were trying to give the power and empower young folks like y'all, like letting y'all know that you actually can affect policy. You actually can, be involved in democracy even before you turn 18. So there's some power that y'all do have. So right now, take a few seconds just to think of some questions you might have for Justin. I'm going to invite him on here in a second, and he's going to, he's going to tell y'all what he thinks about social justice, and then take some questions from y'all, okay? So everybody, welcome Justin Jackson of the LA Chargers. Welcome, Justin.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate being here. And just starting with what you were talking about and what I saw earlier and what you were saying about bringing resources to Black and Brown communities. That's the important part right there, right? Because when I'm out there and when we go out there and we advocate, that's what we're advocating for. We're advocating for people that look like us, right? Or people that don't look like us, but still experience the world in the United States as we also experience it. We're really trying to uplift those groups, people that don't have a voice, right? And when you can, so there's something about sports, right? There's something about sports in this country that people look up to sports figures, right? When I was younger, just a kid, 8, 9 years old, playing basketball out in front, of my yard with my friends, I was looking up to Dwayne Wade. Why? I don't know, but he was a really big and important person in my growth as an athlete. And I learned how to carry myself and conduct myself from someone like Dwayne Wade. So whether he knew it or not, I was looking up to him. And that's the case for a lot of people within this country. So there's something about sports. And there's something about sports that gives you a platform, right? You can use, like myself, I use sports as just when I was younger, just having fun, playing around with my friends. And then I started to use it as a vehicle, right? To help me get an education, go to college, go to one of the best colleges academically in the country. Football and sports helped me do that. So you can use sports as a vehicle to help you advance your own life, or just have fun with your friends. And you learn a lot of things from team sports. So you can use sports like that. But once you get to a certain place, you could also use sports as a platform. And whether you use that platform for good or bad or indifferent, that's up to you. But you do have that platform because there were people that were just like myself when I was younger, looking up to Dwayne Wade. There are people that look up to you in that same fashion. When I was in high school, playing high school sports, same age as probably a lot of you, I know there were people in my town that were looking up to me, even as a high school athlete, as a high school football player, because I was, I played on varsity. And then that's what the younger people like me, 8, 9 years old, I looked up to those players as well. So even at your age, you have a platform, you have a voice. And you can use that for whatever reason you choose. I think it's very beneficial, and this is the direction I picked. And I actively made this choice, and you guys can also actively make this choice if you feel it in your heart to do that. And that's to use that platform to enlighten people, to use that platform to uplift people, to use that platform to bring other people on. And once you want to show your values, and then you want to use those values and go out there and show people how the world should be, and tell people, well, this is what's going on, and this is what needs to be fixed, and this is how we should do it. Now, you don't have to. There's a lot of different ways to advocate. You don't have to be talking about politics. You could be talking about, advocating for a boys and girls club in your own community, or you could be advocating. There's so many different avenues, right? There's so many different avenues you could advocate from. So it doesn't have to be politics. That's kind of the one the lane I chose. But when you have that platform and you use that platform for good, and you use that platform to enlighten other people and show other people, and learn yourself what needs to be done in the world, and what needs to be done in your own life, or what you could have used, and what people that look like you could have used to kind of even and level out the playing field. So there's a lot of different ways you could use that platform. But I encourage and urge everyone on this call to make sure that you're using that platform to pay it forward, so that other athletes that you looked up to as role models informed you, and you are using your platform to inform that other young 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old that's looking up to you, right? So even at your age, you can do that. So social justice, it's a very kind of pervasive, issue that now more people are starting to, come along and get enlightened to what different populations, minority populations, experience the world. And, the atmosphere is ripe for more younger athletes, to continue and be that shining light, that shining example, and use that platform for good, so that the next generation behind you, like I'm millennial, so Gen Z, people around your age, can grow up and experience the world in a way that even when I was younger, certain, racist experiences that I had, whether it was coded or overt, now I'm hoping that y'all aren't having to experience what I experienced at your same age, right? So you kind of ensure that the world continues to progress. And so that's what social justice is for me. I want to make sure I'm paying it forward, because I remember when I was younger, seeing people like Dwayne Wade, seeing other athletes that I looked up to do right in the world, and ensure that the world continues to advance and progress forward. And he informed me, and he helped me, him and a lot of other people in my life as well. My father was big for me too, but helped mold me, right? And I want to ensure that I'm paying that forward for the next generation, so y'all aren't having to experience the world just in the same way that I did. And we can all, kind of come together and coalesce and fight for that better world. So that's what social justice and social activism means to me, and why I think it's really important that we get more people, to kind of not be afraid to use your voice and speak out, because people respect that, especially when you're speaking truth to power, and you're speaking knowledgeable and facts and things that aren't disputable, and you're showing that your heart and your values are in the right place, and this is what is informing what you're saying. People respect that. And so I think, don't ever be afraid to use your voice, to stand up and say what's right. And, sometimes it is confrontational. It can be uncomfortable, but that's okay. That's okay, because that's when you go back, that person has to go back and then reflect upon that. And maybe, just maybe, because of that uncomfortable experience, they come around. Maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's a month from now, maybe it's 2 years from now. But that was the experience, that was the catalyst for them to change. And that's what I struggled with when I was younger, but I'm starting to get better at, because I was always a very kind, nice person, didn't like confrontation, didn't want any of that. But it's something that, once you get older, once you start, having more of these experiences and having more of these opportunities and getting more comfortable with it, you can start doing that as well. And that's how we ensure that the world, like I was saying earlier, continues to progress and continues to move forward.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We have a couple questions in. Students, y'all have questions, type them in the chat. I'll read some of the stuff that came in so far, but please just type them right in the chat. All right, y'all. But one question that came in was, what did you think about the verdict? And I'm guessing that they mean, their Chauvin trial verdict.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously that's what we wanted, right? That's what we wanted. That's what needed to happen. I mean, something so egregious like that, we all saw it on film. It caused, it was the spark that caused, all the protests last summer. So we knew that was coming, or we should have been. The bar is set at we saw what happened. He should be guilty, right? But we've seen it so many times where that wasn't the case, even though everyone understood that he was guilty. So that's a great thing. But we have to remember that the system that caused that to happen is still in place, right? We can be made, that can, the fact that he was charged guilty, minor improvement, but the system is still there. So we have to remember that more George Floyds will be created unless we uproot and change that system that allowed that to happen in the first place. And so that's what I just want, everyone to remember, and something that I think is important that we should be talking about.
Thank you so much. Cool. I think we have time just for a couple more. The next question is, why do you think that the younger generations, millennials and Generation Z, are more into politics and more into social justice than previous generations?
Honestly, I think it's social media. I really do, because, a lot of these things that we see right now that can spread so wide and fast and so many eyes can be set upon it was just not the case, 20, 30 years ago. So I think we have a more cohesive and communal type of feeling. And so I think it's that those messages are able to spread further. And because, younger generations have been thrust into so many crises after crises, right? We understand that what's going, like how the system is formulated right now is not working, especially for us. So I think that is, the reality itself is what is kind of making the younger generations more into politics and want to be more involved and want to be active in changing what's going on right now in the country.
Word, I love that. It's so true. Okay, this one's from John K. Do you follow local politics here in LA area?
I do, yeah, I do follow local LA politics. I've actually had a few local, one guy who's running for the city controller next year, Kenneth Mejia. I just talked to him on my show recently. I've talked with some of the, people that organize the protests in LA. So I'm definitely involved in learning a lot more about LA politics. I obviously have a central focus on national politics, but now that, obviously out here in LA, I've tried to tune in a lot more to local LA politics too. And local politics are really important because that's where you see a lot of the, real changes to your daily life can be dictated a lot more about local politics than national politics anyway. So important thing to pay attention to.
That's great, and I think that's, we had another question, but I think we might have to wrap up. But just so
we can
you can take
another one.
Okay,
yeah,
great. But what's the name of your YouTube show? I'm going to type that. I'm going to have people, what's the name of your YouTube show so people can follow you?
Yeah,
I'm going to ask a question.
Yeah, it's called The Takeover with Justin Jackson. You just put that in YouTube and I should pop up.
Great. Selena, can you put that in the chat for everybody? The Takeover with Justin Jackson. Thank you. That's great. I'm definitely going to follow that. So the last question, last question, and it's so great to hear that you follow local politics, as well. Like it's very important. So the last question is from Michael Castro. He asks, how do you balance your time between the off season and your training regiment with the Bolts, and then also using your YouTube platform, staying enlightened, keeping up to date with both like global issues and local and national issues?
Yeah, no, it is a very tough balance. The first time I've actually had to do it, because I just started the show. It's been tough. It has been tough time-wise. But I like to stay busy anyway. It's fun. I usually stay up to date with politics anyway and just what's going on in the world. And so now I'm kind of just using that and formulating it into a show. So it's not too much more time, but obviously football gets majority of my time, and then especially in the off season you have a lot more free time. But already we're starting up football again and I already have less free time, so I'm still trying to strike the balance, but we'll figure it out.
That's what's up. And I caught you on a podcast not too long ago. I think it was Crystal and Kyle or some podcast. I forget, but I remember just thinking like, oh wow, yeah.
Kyle, that's my buddy.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. All right, Justin, thank you so much. Stick around for a few if you like to, but we have some good stuff in store. Everybody give a virtual round of applause for Justin for answering those questions, sharing his wisdom. It's so inspiring, like seeing, young athletes like you just taking up that torch, because like you said, like we gotta keep inspiring the next generations to keep on lifting as we climb, to make sure that like we make movement and that there's continuing to be movement as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I appreciate y'all having me on in this event. It's great. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. All right, y'all. So I hope you do follow his show. Like, I'm sure it's great. I'm sure you can pick up a lot of knowledge, not just that, but like even part of what the Alliance does is, we want to like inspire and encourage athletes to excel in their sports, but also be social change advocates. And Justin's showing how he's doing just that. Like he's playing at the highest level and still, being true to his community and being true to his politics. Okay. So next up, we got a quick little survey. It's not really a pop quiz. I was just lying. But like we got a quick little survey for y'all. And if you remember some of these questions, they were playing earlier in the slideshow. And I'll just read them off. First question is, who has the power to make sure that every student can access the resources that they need? Second question, true or false, there are more free sports programs today than there were ever before. True or false, 80% of low-income students in LA do not have access to enrichment programs. And this includes sports. Okay, we're gonna close it up. I know that was quick, y'all. Okay, we got people were paying attention. People were paying attention. So who has the power to bring resources, give students resources that they need? All the above. It's not just politicians. It's not just your community or the adults in your community. It's everybody. And everybody actually needs to work together to bring resources to their community, which includes things like schools and which includes things like sports programming. True or false? There's more free sports program today than before. That's false, and this is why we exist, actually, at Play Equity, and why the Play Equity movement exists. It's surprisingly, even to me, things are going in the opposite direction. We actually have less access to sports programs. You know, like sports programs are getting more expensive, actually, for students to be involved in. It's the number one reason why low-income students stop playing sports. It's because it's too expensive. And that's something we're trying to change here. Okay, so true or false? What is it? 80% of low-income students in LA do not have access to enrichment programs, including sports. That is true. Like I said before, 250,000 students, low-income students, do not have access to sports programming. So I didn't bring that up to bring y'all down, right? I bring that up just to state the reality, the facts, the reality. And what we're going to learn before I invite Jackie, the facilitator, on, we're going to learn how to change that reality. You know, we're going to learn how to change that reality, change it together, and like how y'all have the power to actually move the needle and make that change. And one thing that I want to add that, you know, Justin kind of inspired me to say when he was like sharing his wisdom is that y'all are, in being a leader, y'all are also knowledge sharers, right? So y'all are going to learn some things here today that you can teach your friends, teach your parents when they ask you like, oh, who can I talk to about getting this thing done? Or like somebody says, I can't do anything because I'm at 18, I can't vote. You can actually tell them like, actually you can, and here's how you do it. So it's not just what y'all learn here today in the letters you write right now. It's also about like, y'all have the power to share that knowledge as well. And also empower your friends, your family, and your community to do the same thing. So without further ado, we're going to move right along, and I'm going to invite, you know, a very smart, wise, and talented person who's excited to bring this workshop to y'all, Miss Jacqueline Horton, who's going to do her intro herself. So thank you, Jackie.
Welcome. Hi, everyone. How are you? I can't hear you, but I hope that you're sitting on the other side of your screens, excited to learn more about advocacy and how you can actually begin to work as an advocate. Let me get my screen up because I do not see the PowerPoint. Is the PowerPoint up? One second.
Here, there goes.
I thought I was missing it. Okay. So Selena, let's go to the next page. Well, first let's do the agenda. So today we're going to do 4 things. We're going to talk about an issue called play equity. We're going to talk about the government really quickly. We're going to do an intro to advocacy, and then we're going to do an advocacy exercise where you are going to write your local politician about an issue that is important to you. Next slide. Okay, so here's my bio. I know y'all probably don't care, but I wanted to tell you who I am. I think it's important to have people in front of you and tell you who they are and why they are qualified to teach you about a thing. So my name is Jacqueline Horton. I go by Jackie. I grew up in South LA in the Willowbrook, Compton area. And for as long as I've been alive, I've been an advocate. It's just something that I am. I'm an Aries, I'm a loudmouth. I'm one of those people that doesn't like to see people get picked on. And so I knew very early that I was interested in politics and social justice. And so I went to college. I have 3 college degrees. All of my degrees are in political science, social justice. And right after college, I took a job doing that. And so I've been doing this work for 25 years. And now I'm passionate about educating the community about how they can stand up for themselves. So I've worked for multiple politicians. I've worked for 5 politicians. And the one thing that I saw that always broke my heart was that people in constituents or people like you and I, voters, taxpayers, all of that. They would have these issues, but they wouldn't know how to contact their elected officials to get help. And one thing that I really noticed was that communities that had more money and more wealth, they knew how to do it, but the communities I lived in did not know how to do it. So I became very passionate about teaching my community how to get what they needed, who to call, how to make the call, and how to follow up. And so now I'm really passionate about teaching young people, because one thing we're seeing is that the younger generations are really passionate, but passion doesn't always get you as far as skill and education can take you. And I don't mean formal education. I mean just knowing how to do the thing, reading books about how to do the thing. We could stand outside and protest, and that is very important. But what is the next step? How do we make sure the protest is impactful? So that is something that I am going to talk to you all about today. Before we go any further, I'd like to know if anyone has any questions. I will ask you this frequently because I want to make sure that you get everything you want, and I'm checking. I do not see questions. Okay, next slide. Let's go to slide number, well, we could stay here for a second. So today we're going to spend time discussing a social justice issue and learning an easy method of advocacy we can do ourselves. Oh, I just saw a comment. So I'm going to define social justice. Social justice is justice in terms of distribution of wealth, opportunities, and privileges within a society or community. So it's basically making sure that we all get what we're supposed to have and that it's not denied to us. It's usually focused on 5 areas, which include access, specifically to resources and opportunities, equity, which means being just and fair, diversity, which means making sure everyone has a seat at the table, no matter your age, no matter your income, no matter your race, your culture, your size, your disability, everyone deserves a seat at the table. And participation. There's no use of having a seat at the table if you don't get to eat. So, and the last thing is making sure everyone has equal human rights. And advocacy is fighting for a cause, which means sticking up for yourself and others. So today we're going to learn how to do that. Let's go to slide number 5. And let me check the questions really quickly. Okay, none. So the issue we're going to focus on today is play equity. And as you can see here, the Play Equity Fund is a fund that is focused on bringing the transformational power of sport and play to all children, regardless of their race, gender, zip code, or social economic status. And this is an issue that is really important to me. I don't know if you all could think about the communities you live in, what the parks look like, if you feel safe walking, if you feel like you have adequate places to go exercise. This is what play equity is about, because we know that in our communities, these things are not equitable. The parks in South LA do not look the same as the parks in West LA. And so today we're going to learn how to advocate to make sure we have these equal things and to talk about why these things are important. It may not seem like it's really important. You might think it's a park. So what if I don't have the same amount of sports teams at my school as a school in Beverly Hills? But I'm going to show you the connection and how it has an effect on your quality of life for the rest of your life. So, are there any questions? I'd like to take a minute to give you time to type in the chat if you have a question or comment. Okay, Selena, let's go to slide number 5.
Jackie, this is slide 5. Can you hear me? Okay.
Okay.
Slide 6.
So perfect. This is good. I was looking at my notes. And you guys can laugh at me. It is totally okay. So play equity is a social justice issue. Play equity as advocacy raises awareness of inequalities and supports sports based on youth development. So we don't have equal access. I mean, that is something that you will learn in life, right? And that is what social justice is about. It's what all of the protests are about. It's why we're fighting to stop Asian hate. It's why we're fighting to stop people being brutalized by the police. It's why we're fighting to stop children being caged at immigration and deportation centers. Like it's not equal rights. It's not fair and adequate treatment. But what happens is we often sit at home and we're upset and we're frustrated and we're angry, but we don't know what to do besides be sad, upset, and angry. And maybe if we get enough courage, we might decide to show up to a protest. We might write a poem or a letter that we may not even share with anyone, but it may make us feel better. But do we really feel like those things are getting to the people who can help us? And so I would say protesting for sure does, but most people don't feel safe doing that, particularly in this time of COVID. You may not want to go and stand outside with thousands of people during a pandemic. So I'm going to teach you how to write an email to your legislator. And this is really important. You might feel like, what? But it is the single most important thing you can ever do to make your voice be heard is to contact your legislator. Let's go to slide number 6. Okay, so before I go any further, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about sports. And again, this is not the issue you have to write to your legislator about today. You could write about anything, but I wanted to just give you an example of how inequality works. So sports is a unifier, right? When you go to a sports game, whether it's high school, whether it's a local soccer match, whether it's a wrestling match at your school, a basketball match at your school, you can look around and you will see people of all races, cultures, ages, enjoying the same opportunity. And that is part of the reason why I think that sport equity is such, or play equity is such an important issue, because it's a unifier. And what we know is that we need activities that bring everyone together. Particularly in LA, we live in areas that are really kind of divided by race and culture. And so it's really important for us to have opportunities to come together. I wanted to give you some information and statistics about why this is important. It says 15 million kids are in poverty across the US, with nearly 1 million in poverty in Los Angeles. Black and Latinx youth are 2 times as likely to reside in areas with subpar park space per capita. So think about where you live and where the closest park is to your house. Can you all put in the chat what parks are close to your house? Just name one. No? There we go, MacArthur Park. I can't see y'all, so this helps me to get a feel of who is in here and where you live. Okay, thank you, Diana. I mean, if you don't know what park you live next to or close to, I think you should put that also. Okay. Well, it looks like Chase Hartman doesn't know. Richie Valens Park. Evelyn, can you tell me what neighborhood you live in? I'm not even familiar with that park, but I love parks. Okay, Pacoima. Chase, put where you live also, and I may be able to suggest a park for you. Now, I'm very familiar with Pacoima, so that's an area I can talk about. What are some of the reasons we don't go to our local parks? Because they're not safe, because they may not have adequate areas for us to play the sports we like. Ernest Debs Regional Park, I see that. Maybe the hours aren't operational. Maybe they don't have the facility for the sport you like to play. Maybe you live by a park that doesn't have a soccer field or a football field or a basketball gym. But those are the things you want to do. Maybe you like baseball, but there's no baseball program. Or if there is a baseball field, maybe it's so raggedy and tore up that you don't get to use it, or you don't feel comfortable using it because it's just really kind of torn up. This is how we advocate. You can actually write your legislators and say, hey, my park is inadequate. I'd like you to help me make it better so that people can use it. Legislators, oh, this is a good point, but let me finish this. Legislators cannot see, or politicians, I will say, they cannot see everything in the community. So they really rely on the voices of the community to tell them what they should work on. So John Kay says they kicked out all the homeless people from Echo Park and lied about giving them housing. I'm going to write about that. And John Kay, I can tell you that is absolutely something I know very much about. It's something, in a prior job, I actually worked for a council person, and one of the things we dealt with was homelessness in the park. So I think this is a great issue to write about. But I wanted to tell you a couple of other reasons why sports are important. So sports improve health, academics, and they boost self-esteem. It teaches you team building activities. So for me, I really like to focus on why it's important to youth, right? Like if you maybe don't have the opportunity to work with people, you might grow up to be one of these weird people that doesn't know how to work with other people. And then you might not do well at work. And then that may keep you from getting a promotion at work and making the amount of money you deserve. And then that may keep you from buying a house and living in a better neighborhood or living in a desired neighborhood. And so that is how this all has a trickle effect. You learn these things playing sports. But on the other side, maybe you have a parent who has a health issue. Maybe they have a heart condition or high blood pressure. And the doctor tells them, hey, you need to go and walk every day. But then your parent looks outside and they're like, where am I going to walk? It's not safe. There are no walkways, no greenways. The park isn't lit up at night. This is how it has an effect on your life. And this is what we're going to fight about. And I say fight because I think advocacy is fighting. Let's go to slide number 7. Okay. Many school districts have eliminated or reduced investment in enrichment programs, including sports. And to me, I see that as them divesting from you as youth and taking away from who you could be. And kids from households below $25,000 are 5 times less likely to participate in sports. So it really means like your parents may not, if your parents make less than $25,000, maybe they lost their jobs. It's lots of reasons that could happen. There are lots of people whose parents make less than $25,000. They may not have the ability to pay for you to do sports. So one of the things we advocate for is that the government and agencies, nonprofits such as LA 84, the Alliance, that they come in and step in and help supplement and pay for children to do these activities. Next slide. And they're taking PE out. So if you're at a school and you don't have PE, you barely have PE, and you don't have an adequate park, and maybe you live in an apartment so you don't have a backyard, how are you supposed to exercise? It makes it really hard. So Before we go on to learning about the government, I want us to list 5 reasons why equal access to sports and areas to play, 5 reasons why equal access to sports and areas to play and or exercise are important. And I see that there are 12 of you on here. If a couple of you would just write in the chat a reason why you think access to exercise or access to an area where you can exercise is important, can you just type it in the chat box? I see Chase, Diana, I believe Evelyn, I hope I'm saying that right, John K, Laura, Tracy. Can each of you just try to give me one reason why you think that having a good access to play, there's one, to stay active, absolutely. When you grow up, you shouldn't determine your ability. Absolutely. Oh, Chase, you are on it today. Where you grow up shouldn't determine your ability to be healthy. And that is the perfect summarization of why play equity is important. Where you grow up should not determine anything. It shouldn't determine whether you live long. It shouldn't determine how safe you are. It shouldn't determine how you're treated. It shouldn't determine what colleges you can get into or what. It shouldn't determine how people treat you. And it should not determine what you get in life. And so I am happy to see through chat that you guys understand what I'm trying to say. You're ready to be advocates. So now let's go to slide number 11. And I know I'm kind of speeding through this, but I want to make sure that I don't take up too much of your time and you have a lot of time to write your letters and then go on with the rest of your day. Because I know y'all are busy and you have school today. So this next slide is the levels of local government. And the reason this is important, I know y'all might not even like government in school, but I think this is really important because I think a lot of times we don't get what we want is because we don't ask the right people. So this first column is the city government, which is your city council people. These are the type of things they're responsible for. I know it says trees and you might say, what is that? But let's say there's a tree in front of your house and it's falling over. I don't know if you've seen trees where the roots are coming out and it messes up the sidewalk, or trees that might be hanging over into your yard. You call the council people about that. You call them about graffiti removal. Homelessness is a city and county issue. And I'll explain that because I see that you guys are passionate about homelessness. Trash collection. If the street lights are out, you contact the city council. Bulky item pickup. That's basically litter. You know, when you're driving around and you see that people dropped off a sofa in your alley and you're like, who would do this? You call the city for that. Potholes may not be that important to you all because I don't know if you drive or not, but I'm sure your parents might. You can report potholes to the city. The county handles more social service type of things, mental health, foster care, probation, homelessness in terms of providing resources to homeless people, whereas the city deals with homelessness in terms of providing housing to the people. So let's use Echo Park as the example. You have Echo Park and you have kids out there. I mean, you have homeless people out there, but you want to provide help to them. So the county should go and say, hey, you're homeless. You may be a veteran and you may have post-traumatic stress syndrome. Let's get you some counseling and some medication. And the city would come in and say, hey, let's provide you housing. That is the difference. And the state, the DMV, unemployment, Caltrans, prisons, and insurance, things you guys do not have to worry about right now. Next slide. And just really quickly, today we're going to focus on writing our legislators, and I'm going to skip because I know our time is running low. But in terms of writing our legislators, there are 120 legislators in the state of California. There are 40 senators and 80 assembly members, which basically means the senators represent a larger area. Their job is to draft bills and introduce bills, which is why we're going to write them today. Whatever issue you decide you want to write to them today, the reason we're going to write them is because their job is to write bills. And they can't know what to write for unless you tell them. So I hope this makes sense. If you have any questions, you can write it in the chat. But let's go to slide number 15. Oh, no, let's skip. Let's go to slide number 17. Yes. So I wanted to show you this really quickly. I'm not sure if anyone is familiar with what 311 is and 211, but this is a resource to be a good advocate for yourself. And remember, being an advocate means standing up and defending yourself and people around you. So 311 is similar to 911 in that you just dial it into the phone and it connects you to LA City Hall. And basically what you do is report anything wrong in your community and they will send the appropriate resource out. Now it's very different than 911 because it's not for emergencies, but let's say there is a dead dog. Oh, let's say there's a dead dog around the, right outside your house. And it's been there for a couple days. Someone hit the dog with a car and you're like, why hasn't animal services come? That is when you call 311. Now, in this picture that says, hello, guest, my 311, that is an app. I suggest you download the app on your cell phones if you have them. It's free. It works faster than the phone. Both are good, but if you respond in the app, it goes through quickly like everything else. But I really want you guys to share this with your families and start to use these services. Now, if you don't live in the city of LA, but you live in LA County, you can use 211. But I hope you begin to use this resource. And I can tell you, I used to work at LA City Hall. This is how things come to us. So it's very helpful. You can report potholes, you could report trees, you could report crimes anonymously, you can report any issue that you may have in your computer. Any questions? And Selena, let's go to slide number 20. Okay. So now we're going to get to the fun part, and I hope you guys don't leave me. So now we're going to write to our legislators. So what I need you to do is at the top of your computer, at the top of your Google or Bing or whatever you do, your search engine, open another window and type in this address. And after you type in the address, I know some of y'all don't feel like chatting, but it's really important if after you get this page up, if you can hit the raise hand button, just so I can make sure that you all got it. I will not call on you. You do not have to worry. Don't be shy. I just want you to raise your hand so I know that you have this page up. So go and open www.laforward.org/who-represents-me. Okay, I see Chase and Tracy, Evelyn, your hand. Okay, I'm gonna give you about, I see 3 hands up. I'll give you another 4. There we go. Okay, we're waiting on John and Laura. Raise your hand when you get it up. I'll give you about 30 more seconds. Selena, can you please go to the next slide? Okay, so you all should see a page that looks like this. Type in your address and hit find your officials. And after you do that, let me know by putting yes in the chat that you did it. We're almost done, you all. So, okay, good. So let's scroll down and look for your state representative. This is awesome. So when you find your state representative, pick one and type their name in the chat. Just pick one. It should be 2 listed. Pick whichever one you want and type their name in the chat. Okay, Umberg. I see Chase's is Umberg. Anyone else? If you're having any questions or concerns, please let me know. Okay, there you go. There you go. Okay, perfect. So we're ready to go to the next slide. Now, this is very important. On a piece of paper, I hope you have some, write that person's first name dot last name. And okay, I think it's only 3 of you participating, but that's okay. 3 letters is better than none. Let me know in the chat if the person is your assembly person or senator, and just put A or S. If they're assembly, put A. If they're your senator, put S. Okay, Chase is a senator. So Chase, for your person, put their first name dot last name at sen.ca.gov. And if your person is the assembly person, put their first name dot last name at asm.ca.gov. Now we need to wrap up really soon. So if you have an email, can you open up your email account so we can send these people emails? And the emails are going to be really quick, so don't worry. But I would like for you all to do this, because I can tell that the students that are on are very engaged and already advocates. So you might as well take advantage of this opportunity and send a letter for whatever issue is bothering you. Or you can do them later, absolutely. So, so let me tell you the next steps. Just make sure that you write down this email format somewhere. First name dot last name at sen.ca.gov, and first name dot last name at asm.ca.gov. Okay, so let's go to the next slide, which is actually the last slide. So here we have a sample email of what your email should look like. And honestly, this one is hypothetical, so it really doesn't say this much, but it lets you know that it can be a short email. So I would suggest you write, someone had Cardenas, Tony Cardenas, right? Dear Representative Cardenas, my next sentence would probably be, I am a 10th grader at whatever school. I am concerned with the fact that you removed the homeless people from Echo Park, and, well, not you, you removed the homeless people from Echo Park, and you did not provide adequate housing. Now, it's very important to be polite. You can be firm, but I wouldn't suggest cursing or being mean, because you actually want them to write you back, which is also very important, is that at the bottom where you close out your email, that you say your name and put your address and phone number. You may be surprised. And this is actually their real email address. So I would put that information so they have a way of contacting you back. It's also important that you say that you live in their district. And it's important for you to say what the issue is and what you want them to do about it. So let me go over that really quickly, and that'll be our very last point. And in the subject line, you just put what the issue is. So whoever put that they were concerned about Echo Park, I would just put Echo Park. If you want to do play equity, put play equity. If you want to talk about police brutality, police brutality. Whatever issue you want, that is what you put in the subject line. Make sure that you identify yourself, say that you live in the district, say what the issue is, and say what you want. It does not have to be any deeper or longer than that. And then that you put your name and address and send it off. And that is it. You are now advocates. You are now equipped to contact your elected official on any issue. And as you saw from that website, LA Forward, where they gave you all those issues, you could email all of your politicians. I do not think that you should write them all at the same time, but I do think that you should, you can send them individual emails, but now you know how to do it. If there's any issue that bothers you, you can contact them. So thank you all, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Thank you so much. I know that was a lot of information, but it was all very helpful, very useful information. And it's stuff you can take with you for the rest of your life. You know, that's the special part about it. If you have questions, you can always just ping me or message Jackie. I can give you her information. We can go deeper into that, you know. And other than that, you know, we do have our next event is going to be a career panel with staff members from the LA Galaxy, LAFC, the LA Clippers, and also the LA Sparks. So stay tuned to get more information about that. Other than that, y'all, you know, I'll see y'all next time.